Good afternoon, everyone. Let's begin with the blessing for study, and it's just like the candle blessing. The last three words, la'asok, with a K at the end of that word, la'asok b'divrei Torah, to dig or endeavor in the study of Torah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. Amen. So, the story of Jonah, what associations do you have with it? Just first thing that comes to mind. The whale is obvious, though there is no whale in the story. It is known as a fish, which I find so interesting. But yes, very, very imposing figure, and also influenced a lot of great literature, such as Moby Dick, actually Pinocchio, very good, and some others. Other things, other associations you have with the book of Jonah. Yeah.
One association I have is we had someone from across the street come over and talk from their perspective about the Jonah, and they kind of similarities and differences were very interesting to see how Islam read that story and how Judaism read it.
So interesting. We're going to actually look at that.
Yes, it is. They have a
Yeah.
story, but it's slightly different.
It
But it's
is.
the same story.
Fascinating, yes. And any other associations? Wherever you're comfortable. If you want to get a machzor, that would be great. I think Rabbi Danny is getting you one or two. Any others? Any other associations with Jonah? Well, hopefully after the next 45 minutes, you'll have a bunch more associations. Let's start by saying that Jonah is one of the most well-known stories in the Hebrew Scriptures. And even though it is one of the famous books of the Hebrew Scriptures, there's a lot about Jonah that we don't remember from year to year or from one study to the next. One of those examples is that this is a fish. It's referred to as a dog, not a whale. Apparently they didn't have whales in the desert. Traditionally, the book is read on the afternoon of Yom Kippur, and we're going to discover why that is. It seems to reflect the theme of repentance, of teshuvah. But one of the questions is whether Jonah himself believes in this mission of teshuvah. We're not sure. Jonah is also a figure who, for some, is raised to the highest level of prophecy, somebody who's seen by the rabbis as a really great leader and one who models teshuvah. By others, he is not. He is seen as not the greatest guy. And I think that itself is a message for Yom Kippur, that we all have those sides. Not that we should be agreeing or disagreeing as to whether he's more good or more not good, but there is Jonah and all of Jonah's sides in all of us. So when we think about judging Jonah in the afternoon of Yom Kippur, perhaps we should wait a second and think about ourselves in relation to this book and to the fact that we are all very flawed. So despite being a prophet, the commentators are very mixed about Jonah, and they feel that he may not have truly understood his mission. We're going to look today at Jonah, the story of Jonah through art. something a little different. And had I known that that was going to be up so fast, I would have saved some trees. So, let's start. Somebody want to read the beginning of the book of Jonah, page, what did we say? 344, in English. Just set the scene. Anybody?
And the word of Adonai came to Jonah, son of Amittai. Get up, go to the great city of Nineveh, and proclaim against it, for their evil deeds have risen up before me.
Okay, so we've heard this before. Get up and go. Who also was told, get up and go? Abraham. Yes. So where is he supposed to go? To Nineveh, which was east of where he was. Nineveh was actually the capital of the kingdom of Assyria, the ancient land and kingdom of Assyria. Does he want to go? No. So what does he do? He runs away and hides. So he goes from his home in the kingdom of Israel, in a place that we think is called Gat Hefer, to where? Where does he go? Yeah, toward Tarshish. He heads toward Tarshish. Somebody, you want to keep reading a little bit more?
But Jonah got up to flee to Tarshish, away from the presence of Adonai. And he went down to Jaffa and found there a ship heading for Tarshish. And he paid its fare and went down into it to head with them to Tarshish, away from the presence of Adonai.
How many times are we told that he's moving away from the presence of Adonai, which is such a contrast to our liturgy for Yom Kippur, where we're supposed to be moving toward God, toward one another, toward hope, toward light. Here we're told several times that Jonah is moving away from. And I think that's really significant too, because it speaks to us on Yom Kippur afternoon as if to say, there's still some time. And in fact, it doesn't even have to be between you and me and everybody online. It all doesn't have to take place before sundown tonight. That we have our lifetimes to do the work of Teshuvah. And really, it's a daily task. And sometimes we turn away. Like Jonah, he's human. So take a look at the first artist here. This is a piece of American art by a man named Bo Bartlett. And I mean, we could spend a lot of time on each piece of art, which I love. But in this picture, what do you see? Where is he? In the water, right? So it's unclear here whether he is actually in the ship that he's going to take, or if this is already Jonah in the whale. But the fact that it's indistinct actually points to a recurring pattern of Jonah. More than once, he runs away, he goes down, he descends, he falls asleep, and he's swallowed up. That is the cycle of Jonah. And soon, what happens next? You know what? Why don't you read just a little more? You're doing great.
But Adonai hurled a great wind upon the sea, a storm at sea so great that the ship was in danger of being shattered to pieces. And the sailors were frightened, cried out to his own God, and flung the ship's cargo into the sea to lighten their load. But Jonah had gone down into the hold, the lower deck of the vessel, and he lay down and fell into a deep sleep.
I personally think that that is this. I think that it's before the whale, And this sort of gives this impression of a man falling asleep. And I imagine that this is in the bowels of the ship. It is under the waves. I think what we're supposed to imagine is that he's in the ship under, that this part of the boat is submerged, correct, in the water. So he's kind of looking up at the waves. So interesting, the verticality of this, I think, and the horizontal laying down. I mean, it's very, very sharp. Odd choice of a bandage, yeah. He's wrapped in a cloth. Why? I am not sure.
Is there any other reference to his sleeping anywhere else in the text?
In the whole book of Jonah,
Yes.
I think yes.
Okay, because I was going to say that pretty much would
Yes.
make your supposition.
Yeah. So what do you have down below? This is a fascinating piece from Israel, from a collection by a man named Mordechai Beck. And he has a whole collection of etchings and other drawings that he calls Maftir Yosef, which Maftir is the Haftarah of Jonah. Did I say Yosef? Jonah. And this, again, is a pretty contemporary piece, an etching. And God chases after him with the help of a storm at sea. What do you think of this etching? What is it?
The thing that is trying to consume Jonah, okay, all right, is obviously some kind of being that's got an eye in the mouth.
Yes.
So the question is,
Oh. Kind of looks like a whale.
right, but this is supposedly God chasing after him, and I'm like, not, so who's to
Huh.
say? Right, who's to say that the God chasing after him? So, was the artist trying to depict God as a fish? Was the fish, or trying to, I don't know.
That's interesting. I didn't see that the first time.
I mean, this way, it's got an eye in the mouth.
Yes, you're absolutely right. I did not see that until now. I saw that as the storm, the eye of the storm, exactly. And yeah, the storm has not only an eye, but a mouth. Fascinating. I'll look into that a little more. I don't think that there is commentary on that, but I could be wrong. So you have a lot of movement in this book of Jonah. You have a lot of movement in this painting, and that in this etching. And I think that this is an attempt on the part of the artist to really show the power and force of this storm, and by extension of God and God's hand in the fate here. Jonah may be turning away from God, but God is not leaving him alone. And this is a famous refrain, actually. The idea of prophecy being unwelcome. Most, if not all, of the prophets didn't want to be prophets. They kind of had reasons not to be prophets, not to be involved in prophecy. Moses is one, and the classical prophets are the same. In fact, Job, who's not classically seen as a prophet, one of the things that makes that book fascinating, I think, is that Job doesn't want God's attention. He says, "Leave me alone. Don't look at me so closely. You have a whole world, God. Why are you focused on me?" And this is what I get from here, too. Jonah tries to run. It's sort of like you can run, but you can't hide.
Then you said about the prophets also strikes me as truly
Temple presidents. Very good point. Yes. No one wants to be them. Yeah, Allison.
I have to say, when you know those optical illusions where it says, "Do you see this or do you see that?" and then once you see it, you can't unsee it. So when I first looked at this, I didn't see the eye in the mouth. Like I think it was.
I didn't either.
What is that?
Matt.
And so I saw that swirl of movement as almost like a protection.
Interesting.
But now then I saw the eye in the mouth, and now I can't unsee it. But I felt like what you were just saying about Jonah's turning away or running away, and God is not letting him. It felt like protective
Wow.
to me.
Yeah. So much for that. When it's really hard not to see that fish in this image now. I saw it as the power, but I didn't see it necessarily as like enclosing him in a protective shelter, but
The space around the figure of the man.
yes.
It feels,
Yeah, like God is right with him. Yeah.
One thing that I found curious is that it keeps referring in the very beginning that he's fleeing away from the presence of Adonai. But are we supposed to believe that you can actually do that? For the sake of the story, are we supposed to believe that?
Well, I think I leave that to you. The question was, are we supposed to really believe that we can flee from the presence of God? I think that the story is suggesting that it may be a natural inclination, maybe as natural as fleeing toward God, fleeing away from God.
Or that's what Jonah believed.
I think Yom Kippur is a really difficult day, and I think a lot of people, when you read that liturgy and when you hear that music and when you are sort of looking out to predict what may happen in the next year, I'm not sure I want God to pay such close attention to me. And I think that that's a very human response here from a very human prophet. He literally tries to run from God. I don't think it's that unusual. And I think people who call themselves atheists or agnostics a lot of times may not be such atheists or agnostics, but they may not have a very benevolent view of God. In other words, somebody who's an atheist who says, I don't believe in God, is acknowledging the presence of God, right? You can't not believe in it if it's not there. So I think Jonah is impressive in his sheer humanness. And I think by Yom Kippur afternoon, after we've lived these al-Khaits since last night, and we are doing this fast, I think, we're seeing the end, but we're still in the middle of it. And I think that's Jonah. Yeah,
I just don't
Dave.
think that this represents God, because if it does, is this the Tzelem Hashem in which we are created?
Maybe it's kind of a skinny looking, not very healthy kind of
We're looking in the mirror.
person. But also, if that is an image of God, I think it also brings God to a level at which we can maybe relate. It's certainly not the strong man with the white beard in the sky. You can also see that person as Jonah.
Oh, I wasn't looking at the person, I was looking at the...
Okay. At the thing. I think, it is what you wish it to be.
I guess the person is Jonah.
I would imagine the person is Jonah. Okay.
Can I raise one question?
Yes, please.
What are in these
Yes, this is an interpretation.
God shakes that, and that's somebody saying that's what they think.
Correct. Or it's the name of the painting or etching itself. Yes, yes. So I spent quite a while looking at an article and commentary by Joe Milgram and Yoel Duman, and they are art interpreters, art historians, and I learned a lot about Jonah by looking at these. And you don't need the commentary even, but I thought it would be interesting to try to follow some of the story as well. Yeah. So we're reading this partly through their eyes. Okay, turn the page. Look at this. This is a little hard to see. This is an illuminated manuscript from 1430, 15th century. It's pretty old. And this is Spain. And one of the questions is, how do we see the sailors in this narrative? Most commentators think they're pretty good. Even though they actually are the ones who feed Jonah to the fish, right? They throw him over.
To be fair, he also asked them to do it.
He's bidding.
He does. He did.
Ask them to throw him over the side, not feed him with fish.
Agreed.
Well, the feeding of the fish is an interesting interpretation, right? Because it's not what happens in the story.
Right, I don't think they fed him to the fish.
So this is another one of these confusions that are in the book of Jonah. Are these sailors good guys? Are they prophets of God themselves? Are they emissaries coming from somewhere? Why would they grant him a wish of throwing him overboard?
Well, they asked them what they should do, and he told them to do this. So I would throw them overboard.
Yeah? I don't know.
You'll get eight out of the boat. Just as long as you're not running away from on nine, then we're in good shape.
We're in good shape, yeah.
You're already in temple prison,
So take a look. Here you have Jonah either going in or out. We're not sure. Here you have him being thrown over, right in the middle, into the mouth of the whale. And on the other side, he is coming out. So this is a piece that spans most of the book itself. What they point out about this is that this terrible act of forsaking someone's life, which the sailors did by throwing him over, is actually made beautiful in this painting. And we see this over and over again with very round lines and flowers and a ship's mast that they say is reminiscent of a carousel at a village fair. That this terrible image of being thrown overboard gets elevated, especially in Christian tradition, and the sailors right along with. This is an elevated view of what they are doing. Yeah.
In this picture, the 1430 of fish, right? At what point in time do we start, in English at least, saying, I don't know if it's in other languages too, that we start saying it as
Whale?
Is it like some poem or song that occurred?
I don't know that. Does anyone know that when the transfer from a dog fish to a whale is? I want to say King James, but check that out, would you?
Not King James. King James calls it big fish.
Big fish, okay. So it may be more recent than that even. But that's a great question. Take a look at the next one. Here you see this glorification of the deed of the sailors even more, although Jonah does not look too happy in this painting. This one, is an illumination for the book of Jonah itself. And this is also from the 1400s, this time from the Netherlands. And here you have Jonah, his hands crossed, lowered head, first into the mouth of a fish. And what kind of fish is this? This looks more like a shark, right? Yes, and that's really true. It does look like an otter. It almost looks like a land animal. This one has teeth. These guys up top don't look quite as jovial. They are perhaps hesitant. But the fish looks very happy. Yes, the fish looks very happy. And again, there's an effort by this, which is a Christian piece, I think, to pretty this scene up, to make it look more humane, beautiful. And those are the flowers that it's decorated with. It's a
Very boyish.
Jonah looks very young in this, correct. He almost looks like a prisoner. What, Penny? Yes, he is almost bigger than the fish. True. True. Anybody else? Okay, we're getting the answer from Mr. or Mrs. or person AI.
So apparently the dog Gadol was translated into Ketos in the Greek.
Oh, wow, that's early on. I'll repeat it. It's from the Greek version of the Hebrew scriptures. The Septuagint actually translates dog, fish as
Ketos.
ketos.
Then a guy named William Tyndale translated to whale
He translates it like
When?
in the 16th century.
Okay, so 1500s. Thank you. I think it is prefiguring the Protestant Reformation. Prefiguring the Protestant Reformation. Nice. Okay, now we have the next one. You know what? Let's catch up a little bit. You want to read a little more?
Okay, just from here, the captain approached him and said to him, "What are you doing sound asleep? Get up, call to your God. Perhaps the God will be kind to us, and we will not perish."
Okay, keep going.
And they said, "Each man to his companion, let us cast lots that we might know on whose account this evil event has come to us." So they cast lots, and the lot fell on Jonah. And they said to him, "Tell us, you who have brought this evil upon us, what is your trade and where you come from? What is your country and who are your people?" And he said to them, "I am a Hebrew. I revere Adonai, God of heaven, who made sea and dry land." The men felt great fear, and they accused him. They asked him, "What have you done?" Because the men knew he was fleeing from Adonai, for so he had told them.
Interesting, right?
I love this idea that when in a crisis, the first thing you do is figure out who's fault.
That's right. The first thing we do in a crisis is figure out who's to blame.
Right. Then you proceed.
Well,
And
let's say they tried first. They didn't throw stuff overboard. They tried another way first.
they did,
And then they took chance by pulling lots.
yes. No one wanted to be the one, right? Right. We have this theme in other parts of the Hebrew scriptures where other people actually recognize our God as God, which is always interesting to me. You know, Pharaoh, correct. Michamocha, yes, very good. Among the gods that are worshipped, right?
I'd never read before that
itinerary.
Yeah, business book, right? And so they, perhaps they should have thought of him first.
Exactly. So this is a handmade midrash. We actually do these with our students. They call it a paper cut, but actually it may have been torn and not cut. It's an interesting way of illustrating the Hebrew Scriptures. Again, we do this with our 6th graders as part of a program as they are thinking about their Torah portions for the very first time that they will have for Bar Mitzvah. They're living with these, and this is one of the ways that Allison and the education staff introduce the Torah portions to our kids, is by just putting out lots of construction paper on each table and having parents and children read the portion or a portion of the portion, and then just say, make this into a picture. And it's always amazing to me what a 6th grader can do and how these come to life. Anyway, this is a form of a handmade midrash, and this too was from Jerusalem. In this midrash, God's powerful hand replaces the fish that saves Jonah's life in order to bring him back to carrying out his mission. This midrash is on the other side of the fish. This isn't the hand that throws Jonah to the fish. This is the one that saves Jonah. And the wedding band, they say, is an ironic symbol of Jonah's dedication to the role of prophet and his recoiling from this burden. I find that to be very interesting if this is a Jewish paper cutter. That this band, what does this remind you of? Who wears a band, a wedding band? And you all know, that connects that person to God. It's not God, but the Pope. The ring of the Pope. The way I've heard it explained, not by the Pope himself, is that it is a marriage between this human being who certainly has a lot more in terms of superhuman traits than Rabbi Danny or me. It's seen, the commitment is the commitment of a marriage between the Pope and God. And here you have this imagination that the orange hand on the left is that of God, and this red hand with the ring on it is Jonah, and Jonah's commitment to God. Now, where do we get that from? He's fleeing God. Why do we have this image? Karen.
So when I looked at this,
A little louder.
I'm sorry,
I
when
wish
I looked at this at first, I thought perhaps, I don't know, I was grabbing at Jonah, pulling him back.
Wow.
And then I thought, well, maybe he's lifting him up. But I'm very torn now because when you do both of those actions of pulling up or grabbing back, you're going to use your whole hand. And this hand, it's just the forefinger and the thumb that's being used and not the whole hand. So it seems less, to me, forceful and more guiding.
Benevolent, right.
Okay.
I agree with you 100% that this is a God that is gently trying to direct or guide Jonah, not say, it's not
Pulling him up the way you pull someone up.
up. Right.
He is
It's
pushing him up.
helping him up. But that's really like a fascinating thing, which perhaps means, and a message that we are to derive, that even when we flee, when we try to flee, God is still there. And that is a prevalent theme in Yom Kippur, that even when we go astray, God is there to guide us back. Even when we feel resistant or in doubt, God is still there. That this isn't a God whose feelings are going to get hurt. This is a God whose presence can be relied upon. Yeah.
It's
Matt.
also very consistent with the Torah portion we just read, all right? I mean, because we read Nitzavim, okay, and, you know, it recounts how we're going to do all these bad things, all right, very Deuteronomic, all right, all the things we're going to do, all right, we're going to upset God, and, you know, God's going to hide God's face from us, but God's ultimately going to take us back. So it's totally consistent with what we read, you know, this morning.
Absolutely.
On that, so.
This is the God Avinu. This is the God Avinu, the father, the parent. You know, how many times have you told your children? I know how many times I've told mine, no matter what you do, I will always love you, right?
And it's also consistent what you said about the prophets. I mean, all the prophets sit there and tell us how lousy we are and how we've done all these terrible things and everything. And then the last line of every Haftorah, or many Haftorahs, is, but God's going to take you back.
Right, and that is the great Nechemta. That's the great consolation that we are supposed to see, I think, at the end of this book, but it's not always clear. And so look at the next, which is unknown where this comes from. It was discovered in Israel, but it's dated the 5th century, which is the 400s, right? What do you see in this picture? In this painting? Yeah, look at, he's going head first, and it's not just one fish. Yes, exactly. You have fish upon fish upon fish. What do you think that means? Use some imagination. To me, yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, it looks like he's being passed along, you know, like a chain reaction.
He's going to school.
Yeah.
It made me think of it's a dog-eat-dog world, right? Life is hard, and these fish are hungry. And everybody is sort of wants a piece.
In the upper left-hand corner, it looks like there are angels who are heralding.
Yes.
That's really.
What are they doing? Why the angels? With bird tails and bird wings and instruments, it looks like.
It's like one's playing the lute, one's.
Somebody's celebrating. Look at on the, I don't have the answers, by the way. Look at on the right side, you have people also in the water. There's a lot of life in that water. So the commentators say that this is a feeding frenzy. And Jonah, especially in Christian literature, is rarely portrayed drowning in the sea. Again, I think Christian literature and art tends to elevate Jonah as more of a hero and someone who is in the image of Jesus.
So did the whale come to save Jonah?
That is what some commentaries say. They turn it on its head and say, the whale actually saves Jonah. I mean, it does.
I think it was Rabbi Danny who told us one year that there was somebody in a lifeboat and a motorboat came along and tried to save him, and the helicopter came along and tried to save him. and he doesn't get saved, and he says to Adonai, "Where were you? I trusted you." And Adonai says, "Well, I sent a motorboat, you ignored him. I sent this, you ignored him. How much more did you want me to do?" You know, grab the hand when it's offered, perhaps.
Nice. Yeah. It's right in front of you. So look at the next painting, which is at the Smithsonian in Washington. What is this? Well, I'll give you a hint. You see God? Do you see two hands?
One is holding a basketball.
One is holding a basketball, yes. I actually think that is God holding the world. And how is this interpreted? That God is merciful. Is that a benevolent picture or is it an angry picture? I'm not sure. Again, you see the energy in this, the energy of the water, the energy of the waves, and a fish approaching to carry out its task. In this painting, the sea is endangering Jonah's life, whereas the fish, and this goes with what Karen said, represents the compassion of God who saves the prophet from death. And anything in Christianity, by the way, has roots in Judaism and in Rabbinic Judaism. So somewhere is this midrash that the fish is protecting Jonah. The depiction of the fish in Christianity highlights its fearsome nature, even though this is not at all reflected in the biblical story, where the fish is dispatched by God to save Jonah. Go ahead and read, yeah, back up a little.
It says right at the beginning of chapter 2 that Adonai provided the fish.
Correct.
To swallow Jonah.
Correct. You know what,
Was it
Penny,
for
as long
some
as you have the
purpose?
microphone, why don't you read the beginning of chapter 2?
And Adonai provided a great fish to swallow Jonah. And Jonah was in the belly of the fish 3 days and 3 nights. Jonah prayed to Adonai his God from the belly of the fish. And he said,
Okay, and now we're going to have a psalm. So here's Jonah, who is fleeing from God, and what does he do?
he
He
prays.
prays. What do you make of that? What is that? What?
There's a saying, there are no atheists in foxholes.
I never heard that before. There are no atheists in foxholes. That's good. Yeah.
Or on sinking ships.
So he can't help himself, he prays. So maybe that's us on Yom Kippur.
But he never, in the story, he never abandons God. He just didn't want to do what God wanted him to do.
True. But he wants to run from God, right?
But he knows that God is powerful. It's not that he's running, it's not that he feels he doesn't believe in God. He's running from God because he knows how powerful he is.
Okay, that makes sense. I suppose if he didn't acknowledge God's power, he wouldn't need to run from him. Anyone else? Just think that it's so interesting that here we have a man who flees and now decides in the belly of this whale to pray to God, right? And it's ironic because you don't know if the belly of the whale is going to be his end or a new beginning. We don't know that at this point. You have to finish the book, and he doesn't either.
But he's still breathing, so the potential is,
He's going to live.
yeah.
Yeah, he's
still
breathing
alive.
quite well. He
And
composes quite a
able,
beautiful
in
psalm.
that case, to be in a conversation with God.
Exactly. So, okay. So now take a look at the next one on page 7. And obviously, you get to take this home and look at the rest. This is an illuminated manuscript from 1167 in Strasbourg. So this is around the time of the Crusades, just to give you a sense. And I found this one to be really kind of unbelievable. Jonah is spewed out by a huge red-headed fish at the foot of the gate of Nineveh, represented by a medieval tower with a red door. Okay, you think they're reading their own story into this a bit? Yes. Yet this building, which soars upward and serves as a gateway, also represents the point of contact between earth and heaven, human and divine, just as the temple is also an axis of the world. Therefore, it is possible to see here a reflection of the two elements of Jonah's prayer, which we're not going to read, but Penny read right up to, and that is distress and the temple. So here you have people from the 1100s reading their own buildings. These look like Crusader buildings. The arched doorway, the round arch, and the towers. And here you have Jonah. Look at the figure of Jonah here. Almost humorous. It's like, I'm out of here, waving hello.